Sine law. Do you have to memorize it? No. I will tell it to you. I will give you a formula sheet. Okay? But some of you will accidentally memorize it, and that's a good thing. All that says is, this is still trigonometry. It's just trigonometry when you don't have a right angle. It's just ratios. That's what trigonometry is. It's a ratio of what over what. If I have some triangle, does that look like it has a right angle? No, it doesn't. And I'm telling you it doesn't. Even if one looks like it might be 90 degrees, it's not. The big letter is the angle, right? And you kind of can figure that out because that's where the sine is. So that would be angle A. Opposite it, we do little a. That's consistent with this book. That's consistent with other textbooks I've seen too. So where's angle B? You choose. You want it up here? You want it down there? Doesn't matter. Let's call that angle B. Opposite that angle is this side length. That's little b. Is there another angle and another side on this triangle? Yeah, but I'm not even going to write it down in our formula. So don't write this, but also that's equal to this ratio 2. Let's just start with 2, okay? So that's angle C, this would be little c. All these ratios are equivalent, okay? That's called sine law. Why isn't it named after some guy like Felipe's law? I'm not sure. Sometimes laws are, if you're the first guy to figure it out. Okay? That's it. We need to do that to solve problems. And in the first few, we'll give you the picture. Other ones, you got to make the picture. And then that's called word problems, and we all love those, right? So example. A triangle has angles of 80 degrees and 55 degrees. Opposite angle 80 degrees is length of 12. Let's put a unit in there. Question. What is the side length opposite to 55 degrees? So that's really hard to do when you don't have a picture of it. Most of us are quite visual, me included. I like to see what I'm doing. If you take a physics class, I'll say, draw a picture. First time. Some people can do it without, but I'll still say, draw a picture. Because if it's a 3-mark question, if you've got a nice picture that's accurate, you might get 1 out of 3. Without even doing any calculation or solving for everything, okay? So don't be one of these people, I'm good, I'm cool, I can just pull out this and go clickety clickety click and write down the answer, because if the answer is wrong, I guarantee you one thing, you're going to get 0 out of 3. Okay? How do I draw this triangle? There's no real right or wrong way. Okay, there's lots of possibilities. But I know one angle's 80 degrees. Let's start with that one. You know what that looks like? 80 degrees? That's about 10 degrees away from 90. You know what a 90-degree angle looks like? Yes, you do. So that's 90. What's about 10 degrees? Like half of it would be 45. So 80 probably looks maybe something like that. Okay? That's 80 degrees. One of the other angles is 55. Where do you want to put that? The top, the bottom? Doesn't matter. But I'm going to put that down here. So if that's 80, 45 would be half a 90. So 55 would be a little bit bigger than that. And the more accurate you do your picture, the more able you are to see if the answer you got kind of makes sense or not. Okay? So that's 55. What else do we got? Opposite angle 80 is a length of 12 meters. Where would you put that? Well, you got to know what the word opposite means. There is 80, so that's the side opposite it. Just like so katoa, right? Only there's no 90-degree thing. There's no hypotenuse anymore. I have 3 possible opposite sides, right? When this was a right angle triangle, you only had 2 options because one of them has to be the hypotenuse. Now you got 3 options. That's 12 meters. Okay? All good so far? All right. What's the side length opposite to 55? Where's that? Oh, there's 55. There is what I'm trying to find. Let's call it good old. What's your favorite letter? Okay, let's call it X. So, this is sine law. This is what we're doing. Do you see any A, B's, and C's in here? No, but feel free to make some. I'm going to call this angle A. What's opposite angle A? Little a. You're allowed to do that. Okay? So this one, I'm going to go, well, what else is in my formula? What's the next letter in the alphabet? That's B. Opposite it is little b. I want to solve this thing for x, or little b. Here's my formula. A over sine A is the same ratio as B over sine B. And this is a formula, right? I can only have one unknown in that formula to solve it. It means I got to know 3 things. I can't solve this if I don't know A and B, right? It doesn't work. I have to know 3 things. Do I know 3 things? 1, 2, 3. Bingo. I can use sine law. I can solve this. Okay, now it's just like Lego. Plug these things in the right places. Big A is 80 degrees. Okay, little a is 12. So I got 12 over sine of 80 equals, do I know little b? No, that's what I'm trying to find. That's the variable I don't know. But I know angle B, that's down here, that's 55. Okay? See how hard that would be without a picture? I mean, for your first one, it would be virtually impossible, right? Unless you're smarter than me, which maybe some of you are, but you still need the training. So how do I solve that for B? This essentially was just the questions we did yesterday. Algebraically, what do I do? And this is really grade 9 math, okay? You've done the grade 11 stuff. That's grade 9 stuff. What should I do? I need to know what B is. I want B by itself. I want B equals everything else. So how do I isolate this thing for B? Right. It says B divided by sine of 55. What's the opposite of divided by sine 55? Times sine 55. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other side. And then what's something divided by itself? 1. So that's 1b, or just b, right? That's all I got to do. So b, let's rewrite it, is sine 55 times 12. Good idea to bracket that. Divided by sine of 80. Now I pull out my calculator. I make sure it's in degrees, because maybe your friend took it and put it in radians, like that one, okay? Every time I turn this on, it's in radians, right? It resets. It's not a real calculator. It's an internet program. Now it's in degrees. Sine 55. On mine, I have to close that bracket. That's the sine of 55. Okay? You want to make that a number first? Fine. Be my guest. Times 12. You can hit equals now if you want. Then divide it by sine of 80. Okay? .98. Read the question. It might say round it to the hundredths. It might say round to the tenths. It might say round to the whole number. Let's say this is the whole number. What would the answer be? 10.0, right? Or just 10. Yeah. So B is 10. And then you look at your picture. Does it look like it makes sense? Does that kind of look like maybe it could be 10? That one's 12. Sure, looks fabulous. Okay? Now, are there other ways to put this on your calculator? Yes, I got a good calculator. I could just go sine 55 times 12 divided by sine 80. Okay? I could go sine 55 divided by sine 80 times 12. Just to prove that'll work. Because I get that question. Just make sure you close the bracket there. Oh, not 122. Okay? Because it doesn't matter what order you do this in. Maybe in conversions you remembered in Math 10 I said something like everything on the top you multiply, everything on the bottom you divide. Okay? I don't know how you want to do that, but you better get the same answer. Okay, any questions? Did I forget something? Do I have a unit? Good, thanks. Meters. That's meters, okay? If I'm in a bad mood, I'll take a mark off. It'll be half a mark. No unit. 10 what? 10 eggs? 10 people? 10 what, right? 10 people, yep. Okay, one more. Determine the missing angles. Maybe we'll be nice and we'll give you a picture, okay? But if we don't, got to know how to make it. So let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Angle B, angle C, angle A. That's 1.9. That's 2.2. And that is 86 degrees. Again, the more accurate the picture is, the more likely you are able to see if your answer makes sense or not, right? If I drew a terrible picture, I would have no way of knowing whether that made sense. Kind of look like 86 degrees? It's less than 90, sure. Does this one look a little longer than that one? Maybe not. Good enough. Okay, how do I do this? Can I use SOHCAHTOA? You want to hear something funny? After a few days, you guys will be really good at doing sine law, and then I'll give you a picture like this. Don't draw this. Right? Yeah, and I'll say, find that. And you're like, what do I do? And you forget the grade 10 stuff. It's really funny. So don't let that be you. What do I know? I know there's a formula that maybe I could solve for this kind of thing. I know A over sine A is B over sine B. I also have a C in here. So you know what? I'm going to write the third ratio. That is sine law. That's what we use to solve this stuff. Okay, but you don't do three things at the same time. You only want one set of ratio. Either I just use those two and I solve for something, I got to know three things, or maybe I use those two, or maybe I do this is equal to that. Okay, it's all the same thing. Remember, they're not always going to be labeled ABC. Okay? Yesterday you saw W, and people go, oh, what do I do? There's no W in that formula. It's the same formula. What can I do? It's always this opposite thing. This is angle C, so what would I call 1.9? Little c. Opposite angle C is little c. Now C is one of those letters, like if you just put C, you can't tell which one's big and which one's little. So like you put a little tail on it, right? Opposite A is side A. Opposite B, 2.2 is little b. Okay? So this is like that solve question in the first day for the SOHCAHTOA stuff. The missing angles. I need this one and I need that one. Which one do I get first? Does it matter? No, it doesn't. Which one do you want to do first? Let's try that. This is my unknown. I got to know three things. I know the side opposite it. Okay? And I know A. Do I know the side opposite A? No, I don't. Do I know C, the side opposite C? No, I don't. Because you know what? You're missing a piece of information. That's 2.8. Without that, you wouldn't be able to solve it, but you don't know that yet. Well, that's true. You do. In this formula, you do. But I didn't have the three things that I needed. Okay? Don't worry about it. Here's what we got. Okay, so what can I do now? Well, this is helpful. Seriously. Some kids, I just do this and then they go, oh. It's always this opposite thing. Okay? There's two pieces of information, isn't there? Okay, I'm going to put that in my formula. I know A and I know sine A. 2.8 over sine of 86 degrees. So then I'll look at C. I got another piece of information. What I don't know is angle C, right? You see how if I didn't have this 2.8, I would have two unknowns? Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it, but I'm not trying to confuse you here yet. Yet's the key word there. All right, so little c, this is what I'm using. This ratio is equal to this ratio. I know little c, that's 1.9. What I don't know is angle C. So that's the Math 11 stuff done. Algebraically, how do I solve that thing for sine C? And there's a few ways to do it, but I prefer maybe to think about cross multiplying. That times that, 2.8 times sine C is equal to that times that. Okay, and that's a good step to do first because everybody hates fractions. Now I don't have any fractions. Okay, it's all in one line. Called cross product. Called something else in other years. I'm not even going to mention the name, okay? So we have peanut allergies. Okay, so it's all in one line. Now do you know what to do? How do I get that for sine C? How do I get rid of 2.8? It says 2.8 times sine C. What's the opposite of times 2.8? Divide by 2.8 to get rid of it. And sine C is by itself. I'll rewrite it. I got 1.9 times sine 86 over 2.8. I can put this in my calculator, right? (1.9) times sine of 86, close the bracket, divided by 2.8. Does that look like an angle? No. Why? 0.6769. Because that's sine C. That's not angle C. I want to know angle C, not the sine of C. How do I get the angle? When I don't know the angle, what button do I push on my calculator? Yes. Angle C is the inverse sine of that. So angle C is second function sine of the answer. I can do that on my calculator. But if you're writing it down, make sure you don't round this. Okay, it's not 0.67. It's not 0.677. Make sure you got at least 4 numbers there. But that's exact because I didn't round that at all. 42.6 degrees. Let's say I want it to the tenths. Okay, that's angle C. Now lastly, let's do B. Let me cram it over here. I want to find B, so I know, let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of that. Which one do I use? Do I use A to get B, or do I use C? Doesn't matter. Let's just do that, because I like A's and B's. Okay, so 2.8 over sine of 86 is B. I want to find angle B. That's 2.2 is the length of B over sine of B. Okay? So same thing. How do I solve that thing for sine B? Cross multiply. Okay, I just did it. I'm not going to do it again, but I've done this a couple times, so I'm going to make a little shortcut, okay? Sine B is 2.2. I'm just cross multiplying those. Sine 86, and then I'm bringing this down here, divided by 2.8. Y'all believe me? If not, look at the previous example, okay? Do it the long way, just make sure you don't make a mistake. We're no heroes in here. I don't give you bonus points because you do the question faster than someone else, okay? Again, that's going to give me sine of B. I want angle B. So, angle B is the inverse sine of all that stuff. I don't have to make it a decimal first. I can just put inverse sine of all that. Okay? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, like I said, don't worry, do it the slow way. Inverse sine of 2.2 times sine 86 divided by 2.8 bracket. Look like an angle? Seem reasonable? Now, Kylie, did I have to do all that again, sine law? How many degrees are in a triangle? All right, so smart kids are going, why the hell is you doing all that? Was you stupid? No, I'm just trying to show you the procedure again. So I know there's 180 degrees. So if I want to find angle B, if that's the last angle I don't know, well, I'll just subtract these two from 180, and with any luck, I'll get the same thing. It's off a little bit, isn't it? Okay, that's fine. Don't worry about it, because we did some rounding in here. Remember I rounded this a little bit? Okay, so I'm not going to be that picky. This tells me you understand it. Whether it says 51.6 or 51.4, you're showing me understanding, you know the angle. It's not like 48 or something way off. Okay? So, but smart kids will double check. Just like SOHCAHTOA, you can double check this, right? Do it again. Okay? One, two, three, four.